Hey, what's up, guys? Testing, testing. There we go. Okay, cool. We'll give it a little bit. Okay, we got a couple people on here. Good morning. It's about 10 till 8 a.m. here in the Philippines, and I am just having my morning coffee and yeah, I'm just waking up. I filmed a mini documentary this week that should be out in hopefully next weekend. I'm not certain if that's when it will come out, but that's what I'm hoping for. Um, Yeah, should be interesting. But feel free, guys, to chime in and let me know what you're up to this weekend, how you're enjoying it. I think it's Friday night back in the States. It's around the middle of the night in Europe, and then Asia's already awake, but some of us are waking up. I woke up at about probably 6:30 this morning, and I just did some reading, uh, just reading about different stuff, and then uh, had made some instant coffee, and so that's what I'm doing this morning is just having my coffee. I'll probably go to Dumaguete in the next, I don't know, maybe in the next hour or so. Like maybe after the stream, I might go for an hour, maybe an hour and a half, depending, and then head down there. I've been super busy this week. This is, I think, been the busiest week yet for me here in the Philippines, and yeah, I just worked on the documentary, and I've been lining up interviews. So I've got quite a few. I've got one scheduled for Tuesday. I'll probably get that released on on this upcoming Thursday. I've got, see who else I've got. I'll check my notes here because I'm trying to schedule these interviews. Yeah, I'll probably get at least two done this upcoming week. Um, and I may do a third with somebody I've already interviewed actually because I want to ask him some more questions. The veteran that I interviewed, I'd like to meet with him again. He's a friend of mine because there's that wasn't my traditional uh, that wasn't my traditional style of interview. So I prefer to kind of control the conversation, hit certain questions, lead things in a certain direction so that I can take you, the audience, on the journey. But he kind of wanted to present something more along the lines of helping folks in a certain way as opposed to storytelling. Both are awesome, but there's a difference between telling a story and doing an interview, right? And I'm happy for both. I think there's value and benefit in both, but it was just we didn't get a chance to tell his story. Let's put it that way. And I'd like to do that because he's got a really interesting story, a really engaging story. He's been here for 8 years. There's a lot to talk about. Um, but yeah, I've got to schedule. But he's busy right now, so I've got to schedule something with him as well. But yeah, I've got like potential 4 or 5, that just need to be scheduled. Hey, Joe, thank you so much for supporting the channel, Joe. Good morning. Good to see you. Um, I will be staying in the Philippines for a while, so the job market is still not that good. I don't know if it's going to pick up after the election, but I'm starting to get uh, I'm starting to get like more and more traction. And I actually talked to a sponsor, well, a couple of sponsors, potential sponsors yesterday. I haven't signed anything yet, but uh, one that you all may be familiar with is Safety Wing. They do insurance, and so a lot of us vloggers have an insurance partner because it's something we get asked about a lot. People want to mitigate risk, right? They're coming halfway around the world. They're concerned about, uh, how to avoid pitfalls, how to handle different situations. So most of us have insurance partners. So I'm talking to Safety Wing. But yeah, Joe, I'm starting to sort out the financial aspect of being able to stay longer term, and that's the big hang up for me to stay here. Is it's not so much about like health, it's not so much about missing family. For me, it's more about, can I just cover my expenses and then some. And yeah, so that's what I'm working on right now with the channel. But I'd like to stay like at least another 4 or 5 months, really like long term. But as far as in the short term, at least 4 to 5 months, because Christmas is coming up in about 2 months, and Christmas in the Philippines is incredible. Um, yeah, I love Christmas in the Philippines. If you haven't experienced it yet, it's really a wonderful time of the year to get a stronger appreciation and sense for Filipino culture. There's already Christmas trees up like throughout throughout the city of Dumaguete, like in the malls. People love it here. I mean, people really, really enjoy the Christmas holiday. Um, Good morning, Doug. Good to see you in here. Welcome, welcome. Joe says I'll be flying in for a 2 week vacation in December. Joe, so where are you flying to in the Philippines? Are you flying here to Dumaguete? Are you looking at Cebu? If you're coming here to Dumaguete, I'd love to meet up. Feel free to send me an email, and I'll drop my email again in the chat. Ah, okay, you're flying. So you're going to be in Manila for 2 weeks. Okay, then it's a great option too. A lot of people love Manila. I know at some point I need to go spend a month in Manila because there's a lot for me to do up there. I'd like to check the city out. There's a ton of vloggers up there. I also worked with a camera crew, and each of the members of the camera crew are from Manila. And so I want to go hang out with them because I really had a lot of fun, really got along well with them. But I think Manila is going to treat you well, Joe. It's you've got the big city vibe. If you want something super, um, you could say like modern. You look at BG, of course, Bonifacio Global City. They've got all the restaurants that you could want there. They got all the amenities, the shopping malls. There's a lot. Gerard, if you could, or Gerard says, if you could start a business, what would you like to do? That's a great question, Gerard. I think media is just a lot of fun for me. It's really great to be able to interact with people, to share my experiences, to kind of show people that they can live alternative lifestyles and get validation, right? Because when I left to do this 6 years ago, people told me I was insane. People told me I was going to get kidnapped. I heard all kinds of wild stuff that was going to happen if I chose to uh, if I chose to go outside of the United States. And now we live in a time where there's more and more people pursuing this lifestyle, and that's a large part of that is through the media, right? A large part of that is using cameras, using laptops to show our lives and show our experiences, and I enjoy it a lot. So I think that going the YouTube route, growing the YouTube channel, and just building off like additional businesses alongside YouTube. So for one, having partnerships, right? Having companies that they want to connect with my audience, and I also know are reputable and will take care of my audience members, because there's opportunities that people reach out to me about that I just totally ignore because I just don't think it would be a good fit. I don't think it would help you guys. And so, yeah, building out the vlogging such that there's numerous different streams of income is top of mind for me right now. And then I become more mobile too. I mean, I love the Philippines, but I have some friends in Indonesia, and I've two friends actually, good friends of mine in Indonesia that I want to go see. I've never been to Indonesia, so being able to go over there and like show something a little bit different, to me, part of what makes my experience valid is the variety of experiences that I've had. So I can speak to and compare different places. And that's helpful for you because some of you may not want to live in the Philippines, right? The Philippines may have some drawbacks. You may not like the hot weather. You may, you may be a member of a certain faith that you prefer to be in a country like, if you're a Buddhist, for example, Thailand is awesome. If you're a Catholic, can't beat the Philippines. Let's see here. Joe flying. Okay, Doug. This will be my first Christmas here. We'll be down in the Dumaguete area for Christmas and New Year's. Fiance's family is in Occidental. Yeah, Doug. Definitely send me an email when we get closer to Christmas, and feel free to reach out. It sounds like, yeah, it sounds like you'll be here in town. I want to travel more in the Philippines, like, and spend some time outside of Dumaguete, but Dumaguete just makes a lot of sense, right? I have a lot of friends here. I know my way around town now. I find it to be just easy to live here. It's just, it's just easy to get around. It's not too big. You have some of the big city conveniences. You can easily, go to different shopping malls that have all the things that you want and need. So it's just a very comfortable place to live. Like, some people, they prefer to be in a more provincial area, and I don't blame them, right? Like, the province can be very chill and slower paced, but other people, they want a little bit bigger city vibe. For some people, you'd be surprised, but for some people, Dumaguete is too big of a city. So I met a gentleman recently who said he felt like Dumaguete is this huge city and that he just didn't really care for it. So it's important to think about that as well. For some people, that it's just too big here. Joe says thinking of flying to down to Davao City for 3 or 4 days. Yeah, Joe, Davao seems to be really awesome. A friend of mine, his girlfriend is. I'm sorry about the dog barking, by the way, guys. It's just, yeah. Um, Thinking of flying down to Davao City for 3 or 4 days. Yeah, let us know. If you make that decision, Joe. It's supposed to be super orderly and like just very organized and easy to get around. I've seen some video of Davao, and it looks like an American city as far as just the sidewalks, power lines. Very, very nice city. I would love to go to Davao. So Davao and Iloilo are the two cities that are highest on my list because, well, aside from Manila, I mean, so those three are the top three on my list: Manila, Davao, and Iloilo. Davao, because I've spent some time in Mindanao. Speaking of which, there was actually, unfortunately, an American was uh, kidnapped. So this was late Thursday night, and he had a YouTube channel. I'll just drop his name, and if you want to look his channel up, it's really unfortunate. Yeah, okay, so let's see here. Yeah, so this guy was in Zamboanga, and it's really unfortunate, but he, yeah, you can look into that. He was kidnapped. We're all very uh, deeply concerned about it. We want to make sure that he's able to get back safely, but everybody should be very mindful when they are traveling abroad. check out some of the safety warnings, but not just the safety warnings, but really do a deep dive. Um, some places you go, maybe there aren't any major safety issues like certain places I've been in the US or in other parts of the world. But then in some other places, there can be some concern for your safety and well being. So, yeah, yeah, just be mindful of that. But so Davao is really popular for durian. That's one of the things that I want to try when I go down there. It For me, I think like one of the things that stuck out when I talked to my friend's girlfriend about it was that she said it's just very peaceful. It's very quiet. It's very peaceful. It's a little bit sleepy, like compared to what you might think for a city of its size. And it's yeah, yeah. That sounds amazing, Johnny. Let me get caught up here real quick. Doug says, I think I'd like Dumaguete, but I'm heated verse heading to Tagaytay on Monday. Enjoy Tagaytay, Doug. And thank you for the heads up that you guys can't hear the dog. It sounds a lot louder on my end, I think, than on your end. I'm still trying to get a sense of what the mics pick up and what the mics don't pick up. So, yeah, very, very helpful. Thank you, Doug. Yeah, it's been hot in Dumaguete. Um, I've been up to Valencia. It's not as hot up there, but it has had me curious about Malay and just really thinking about also Baguio. Those two places are of interest to me for sure. Johnny says Davao is very peaceful. I loved it. Everything you need is in walking distance, but it's a large area with two SM malls. Second largest population city, but still very peaceful. Yeah, that sounds awesome. I like going to SM malls. They are super nice. I mean, one of my favorite malls I think that I've ever been to in the world is SM City Cebu. It's just so like modern and organized and clean, and they have really nice food there. It's also proximity to the Radisson Blue, which is my favorite buffet. Let me pull that up on a map actually. Yeah, so this is my favorite buffet in Cebu. It's at the Radisson Blue Hotel. It's probably, I don't know, in my opinion, it's one of the nicest hotels in Cebu. It's just a very, very nice place. The decoration is incredible. And you can cool off, right? I mean, if it does get hot in Davao, I haven't been to Davao, so I can't speak on the weather. But if you have the two big shopping malls, you could just go down there during the heat of the day, enjoy a nice meal, relax, kick back, enjoy yourself. Doug says Baguio was a perfect climate, but so crowded. Yeah, I've heard Baguio has gotten extremely popular because a lot of people are going there to to get out of the heat, right? I mean, the weather can certainly be hot, and if they want to break from the heat, then Baguio is a good option. Um, yeah, I'm definitely feeling kind of worn down, guys, from all the filming this week, but I'm gonna keep powering through because there's a lot of interesting stuff going on to talk about. It's just it's very unfortunate what happened to this young American, and I just wanted to call that out um, as something to be mindful of. Davao in May with the humidity, heat index. Wow, yeah, that is extremely hot. Definitely one of those places where you want to spend some time in the aircon to stay cool, be able to relax. I was at Robinson's Mall yesterday in the city, and it was really Yeah, it was really a comfortable temperature there. It was really nice to get a break. Yeah, it is brutal, Johnny. It'll be heating up here in Dumaguete soon. It's already starting to warm up some. It was really nice when I woke up, but it's already starting to get hot. Let me look at the forecast today. So it'll peak at 90 degrees and the low is 79 degrees. So uh, I guess it'll be hot around 11 a.m. So here in a few hours, and then it'll come down a bit. So it's supposed to rain today. I think we're supposed to get rain for the next week, just about every day. Um, Doug, how is your budget? Are you able to travel around a little? I try to slow travel, Doug. So to help stretch my budget, I try to do 1 month blocks at a time, especially in the early days of growing the channel. As the channel grows and I get a larger subscriber base and have increased sponsorships, then I will be able to travel around more. I'm not sure exactly how to gauge the pace of the growth. I think that this interview that I did this week should has the potential to rapidly grow my subscriber base because the organization that I did the interview with, they've got several million subscribers and they're displayed in like something like 16 million homes. Um, so the goal is to grow the channel, and then once the channel, the first goal is to have the channel produce income such that it covers my monthly expenses of staying put, right? And then once it goes beyond that, then I start to look at travel. I may do, like I said, month blocks because I could leave here and go somewhere else for a month, test it out, come back here for a month. But it's also beneficial for me because I struggle to do traditional travel style vlogs. So a lot of people might be wondering, why don't you show videos running around town? Well, what ends up happening is I've got to record it, then I've got to do a voiceover. And to me, it just seems kind of disjointed and less in the moment. I'm not as much of a fan of doing scripted content. Uh, I prefer more documentary style. And so that's that's a disadvantage of travel is if I travel, I've got to find new places to film. I've got to readjust my workstation. I'm not saying it's not doable. It's definitely doable, but it takes more like what's the word I'm looking for? It takes a lot more decision making, right? Where here I've decided, okay, I've got two or three places that I like to film here in Dumaguete. I've got a social kind of group where I've got many different connections with people here in Dumaguete. So for me to find new people to interview, like for the channel, very easy. I have people like I had somebody, a nice, really nice lady, approach me at Robinson's Mall yesterday, a Filipina. So I was surprised. But now I'm starting to grow a Filipino audience as well. I think about like 18% of my audience is Filipino. So very receptive, very kind, very wonderful people. But she approached me saying, "Hey, I watch your channel," and I'm shocked because I feel like the channel is still quite modest in size. I do appreciate everybody's support, but it's still very humbling for me to get recognized in public, not just by foreigners, but especially by the Filipino people. It's a wonderful feeling. But yeah, Doug, travel's on my radar. I like to do it 1 month at a time in 1 month blocks. That also gives me more time to do a deeper dive on a place, right? I feel like sometimes we go to a place for a couple days, we don't really get a strong sense of the place, right? Uh, we may go to the we may go to the beach and wow, the beach is awesome. And we go to a restaurant and the restaurant is awesome. For me, spending a month in a place, I feel that I can speak much more to that place. I can tell you, okay, this is what I like. This is what I didn't like. this is what I'd recommend doing. This is something you could skip over. Maybe it wasn't as impressive as what I had originally thought. And so there's certain like Davao, I could give at least a month to. Manila, I could do a long time in Manila, but at least a month in Manila, and then Iloilo, I would do a month in Iloilo and also try out Bacolod. So those are some of those places where I think because they rank so high on people's radar, I wouldn't want to go for just a couple days. Nothing wrong with going for a couple days, but if I have subscribers that ask me for detailed information or insight, being able to say I stayed there for a month, uh, you know, I get benefits on both ends. So on one end, I save money. On the other end, I get a more in-depth experience that I could share about, like, hey, I like this. This, was so. But Tony, woohoo! Friday night. Hey, great to see you, Tony. Hope you're doing well. Always good to see you, Tony. It is, yeah, it's been a journey. For those who don't know, Tony was the first person that ever joined these live streams, and there were many live streams where it's just me and Tony chatting. And so it's wonderful to see more and more folks enjoying this content. Alex, best any advice for single man just wanting to retire in the Philippines, not looking for a relationship? Yeah, that's a great question, Joe. I'll try to keep it high level. I hesitate to give advice because anytime I give advice, there's a risk it turns out to not be applicable or not be good for you. Uh, and so I prefer to share insight. Like, I wouldn't tell you what to do, but this is the insight from that I've learned from my experience. And I would say try to explore. You mentioned before that you want to go to Davao. Try to explore. Make a determination. Like, if you're a big city guy, you'll want to focus on Manila, Cebu, and Davao, right? Those are the three largest cities in the country. If you're expressly looking for those big city conveniences, big city amenities, then those are going to be your best bets to provide that kind of lifestyle. But even so, I would recommend branching out. Like, I'm a big fan of doing what I call a discovery trip because, some people, like I met somebody recently and he immediately signed a year lease and he doesn't like where he's living. And I'm thinking, man, you ought to have given it some more time to explore, check out some different spots, like check out different neighborhoods. Even here in Dumaguete, I would recommend if somebody were thinking about, hey, I want to sign a year lease, go check out Darwin. Go up to Valencia, check Valencia out. Check out Cibulan near the airport, and then check out Dumaguete proper. And you get a sense of the different parts of the city because one person that's like really into diving, then they should be in Darwin, right? Or in Bakong. They should be in an area where they have access to that. If somebody doesn't like the water at all, then maybe Valencia makes more sense. So really give yourself the time to get to know different places. Check out a few different cities of different sizes. Even check out like a vacation destination like a Boracay or a Palawan. I've got some others that I'm a fan of. Like there's Guimaras and near Iloilo that I want to check out. I haven't been there yet, but I want to check it out. And checking out these places so that you get a sense of what's on offer. The Philippines has a ton to offer, and I think sometimes we get in a hurry to settle down, and we really benefit a lot from trying different places out and getting a sense of, uh, getting a sense of what's available, Joe, because I would need to get a better sense of like who you are. I'd want to ask you a lot of questions to get a better sense of like what kind of suggestions I would make to you. But I push the discovery trip a lot because you may find it's not the right fit, right? Some people prefer a lot of different places. But if you do the discovery trip, you get a strong sense of like, could I stay here or could I not? And I knew when I visited the Philippines 5 years ago, I was thinking, yeah, I could live here. I'm not ready to commit today, but I'm going to give it a chance in the future. And I'm glad I did, because it really, the big things that I love here are the English. I can communicate with people very easily. The nature is just absolutely gorgeous. And then the so the English, the nature, and the people are awesome. In no particular order, the people here are super nice. They're super welcoming. They've been super friendly to me, and it's yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying my time here a lot. I'm really liking it. I don't want to leave the Philippines, and yeah. Doug says I have a 2K budget, but normally saving each month and still travel a little. It's for me. It's for myself and my fiance. Yeah, that's a solid budget, Doug. I think you can do comfortable on that. And yeah, I'm trying to be really modest about my budget early on, because, well, there's a few things. One, I'm doing a lot of different stuff for the channel, so that occupies a ton of my time. Um, I had a meeting last night at like 8:30 p.m. and so, it's one of those situations where I need to know that I have solid internet. That was a video meeting. Also, uh, I need to be able to, I just need to kind of be more predictable right now, right? And so I find that the more I travel, the more locations I go to, it gets a little bit harder to predict things like weather, internet connection, uh, transportation. So definitely, like, when I can get a bit more structured, then travel will be more and more on my radar, because I want to try out Baguio, right? Like, heard a lot of great things about Baguio. By the way, guys, if you are enjoying this stream, please give us a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. Is there prenups in the Philippines? If so, what do you think the women there think about it? I'm not sure, Philam. I'm not really sure if they have that or not. That's something that it might be worth reaching out to a licensed attorney to consult with them and just run it by them. Any questions that you have. I haven't actually talked to any attorneys here in the Philippines, but they would probably be able to dig into that with you and talk to you. And they're very economical compared to American lawyers. So, if they've got a fee, it's not going to be, I don't think it'll be the same price as what you'd pay in America. Says, I keep hearing that young men are having trouble saving for the future. Do you find it difficult? I think Dave Ramsey's advice was crucial to my finances. Ejection of my ex-wife was also crucial. Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is like, young men can save for the future, but uh, they're not going to have a life. I mean, they're going to sacrifice a lot to save money, and the average young man in America. So 2/3 of young men in America are single, and I talked about this in the interview I did this week, where I'll drop a link to that. It's super professional, very high quality, but they yeah, I mean, there's a lot of young men feel that there's very little hope for the future in the U.S. So what's the point of saving money if you don't feel like you're ever going to be able to get married or have children or buy a home? So it's not just that it's hard to save money due to inflation. It's also that, because everybody talks about inflation, right? Everybody's saying, "Oh, look, the rents are going up, the food is going up, the transportation is going up." They don't talk about asset price inflation. So they don't talk about the fact that if you want to invest, your stocks are extremely expensive uh, uh, relative to what they were. So not only are you spending more money and have less left over, but when you're trying to buy into assets, they're also inflated. And asset bubbles tend to not end well. They tend to not end well. And so, yeah, I mean, that's Dave Ramsey. He's got some good stuff if you're like somebody who struggles with debt. But I also think that he's interested in selling courses. He's interested in selling seminars, and a lot of what Dave Ramsey teaches um, can be learned in books, right? Can be learned from just reading different books. And yeah, I wouldn't recommend, like, I know you didn't suggest this, Cars, but I wouldn't recommend paying Dave Ramsey a lot of money to figure out how to live below your means. There's there's a lot of information out there that a person could use to try to improve their financial situation. I think, though, a lot of young men are just kind of dropping out of the workforce. They're dropping out of society in the West because there's just an oversupply in the West, and so that's why you see so many young men coming to Southeast Asia, going to Latin America, maybe Eastern Europe, because they feel that, well, what am I working toward in the West? I can't really afford a decent life. Um, a lot of young men have grown up in a family where the parents were split up. That was my case. My parents were not together. Um, and so that you have all these different things that are basically like you've got the decline of the West. The West is in serious and obvious decline. I've talked about this in a couple of videos on my channel, but it's yeah. I mean, it's really not an easy time to be a young man in the West, and I think it's going to lead to further problems in the Western democracies, um, because you're just going to have a bunch of guys who feel that they don't have much to strive toward and much to hope for, and that don't have as much to lose, right? Because if you want to have young men save money, they need to feel that they have a stake in society or that they can get a stake in society. And I think a lot of young guys just don't feel that way. A lot of men in general don't feel that way, but especially young men don't feel that way. I mean, you see this in the expat community where it's like, I didn't really, I mean, for me anyway, I don't feel like I gave up much of anything back home. That's why people tell me to go back home. I'm like, okay, the jobs are not paying that much. There's been wage stagnation, tons of layoffs. And so I'm not going to go back home to tread water financially. It just doesn't make any sense to basically work really hard just to put money in the hands of landlords and and car companies and service providers. Like, I'm not getting ahead. Whole reason to work is to get ahead. The point of work is not I work for the sake of work just to work. It's like, no, I work because there's a financial incentive. Or historically, there has been a strong financial incentive. Like, I'm going to improve my lot in life. I'm going to get a safe home in the right neighborhood. Maybe I'll get a wife and I'll have children. Maybe there's got to be some kind of like something on offer to deal with the stresses of work, and to deal with the stress of management. I mean, I feel that um, you're just gonna see. I mean, in that there's just gonna be more and more guys that get tired of it, and that they come over here because they're like, well, I have nothing to really work toward back home. I'm not moving in the right direction. I'm kind of rudderless, and I don't see a future here where I can have those hallmarks of being an adult or being a man. I feel like a perpetual teenager or a perpetual adolescent, where, like, I have friends in their 40s with roommates. Now, this is in California, and I'm once again not judging them, but it's like, okay, real estate is so expensive, they can't lock in home purchase. And so it's like, okay, do you want to try to raise a family in a house with roommates? That just sound like, it just doesn't. A lot of people want privacy for their family. They want to feel like the family is buffered from the outside world. And I could go on and on about this. I did do an interview, and I'll be sure to drop a link whenever I get that link. But yeah, I think Dave Ramsey, he came from a really wealthy background. That's something Dave Ramsey doesn't talk about, is that his family was very wealthy. They were already real estate investors for a number of years before he got into real estate investing. He'll never talk about that. I think it's inconvenient. I think that he doesn't want to talk about that because it's a really awkward conversation to tell people who make bad financial decisions. Oh yeah, I could afford to go into all this debt because I knew Bank of Mommy and Daddy would bail me out if if I made some kind of major mistake. Now, I'm not saying that alone is worth criticizing Dave Ramsey. I don't hate Dave Ramsey, although he's got kind of a rude reputation around Nashville. He grew up in the same city I grew up in, but he I think he's having a tough time basically talking about about the inequality factor. He boils it down surely to just hard work, and it's fairly obvious if you worked a corporate job, because I worked some corporate jobs. I didn't work as hard in the corporate job as I did in a restaurant, and yet I made more money. And yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think Dave Ramsey is a good salesman. I think that he's got great sales skills. I think he's able to communicate really effectively. He's able to convince people of different things. But yeah, I mean, I also don't like some of his business practices. I think he can come across as a bit out of touch, but he's also like, yeah, just some of this idea that he sells courses for like 4 or 5 grand. A lot of people would be better taking that 4 or 5 grand and going to their local community college and signing up for some basic accounting classes. Maybe some, if they're, I don't know if you could do financial analysis, but if that's a more advanced like thing. But yeah, I mean, Dave Ramsey would say, yeah, there's a prosperity doctrine that it's it's a Protestant Christian's duty to be rich, and that I'm getting rich and it's fine. And it's like, Dave, like somebody that's bad with money shouldn't be paying you 5 grand for a course or a seminar. They should be taking that money, and I'm sure he would acknowledge paying off debt, but it's like, no, like they really shouldn't be even going to your seminar to learn how to pay off debt. They should just apply that to their debt. So I don't know. I think that there's some value in preaching to people about taking their finances seriously. I think that if somebody watches Dave Ramsey and thinks, man, I need to get my finances in order, that's a net positive, right? People would benefit greatly from financial discipline, but he's a salesman, and I speak from personal experience in sales. Salesmen have a certain they want to make the sale, and they want to do anything to make the sale. Um, do you think the digital and I guess finally on the advice part, if somebody takes Dave's advice and it doesn't work out, then Dave like sweeps it under the rug. I don't think he's ever done a thing where he's gone back and pointed out, hey, because a lot of people, several of the people I knew in Nashville that borrowed money when the interest rates were low to get a mortgage, they've done extremely well for themselves. So this debt is bad, debt is bad, debt is bad. No, we in the United States, debt is an instrument. It's a tool, and a lot of middle class people are uneducated about it. A lot of poor people are extremely uneducated about it. And so, yeah, Dave, it's like, okay, you got a wealthy family that can bankroll your real estate purchases. That's awesome. But if you're trying to start out, yeah, when the interest rates are low, you would have a lot of people would have benefited from taking out a mortgage and then finding tenants and getting their foot in the door on real estate. And a lot of people that listened to Dave and thought, it's totally wrong to do that. They missed out. I mean, I missed out on growth in prices. Doug's, do you think the digital nomad visa will increase the cost of living in the Philippines? I don't think so, Joe, because there's so many places to go in the Philippines. I do think some of the expat hotspots will continue to go up in price, like Dumaguete, Cebu, IT Park, Bonifacio Global City. Iloilo, these places that are top of the list for expats and digital nomads for various reasons. They offer very, very high quality of life. but there's a ton of small towns that you could get Starlink in, and you could set up in and be just fine as a digital nomad or as an expat that nobody's ever heard of. Like I know of a number of places that I want to check out, but nobody ever talks about them. And some of them I'm going to keep in my back pocket because I like my privacy and I like the idea of having some kind of back pocket ideas. But I don't think so. I think that it's more sensitive to the cost of oil because they import a lot of oil, and so when oil demand or oil supply is impacted by global circumstances, that's going to increase the cost. I think more so than people coming here, because you've got of all the people that come here, some people they're just it's not going to work out for them. They're going to find for whatever reason to check something else out. Maybe they don't like the heat. Maybe they're not an English speaker, right? I mean, if you're somebody that doesn't speak English, you might struggle in the Philippines to communicate effectively with people. There's a number of reasons why a person might not find that a certain country is the right fit for them. So, no, I don't think so. And plus, they are pretty good about allowing new construction here in the Philippines. So you see new construction all over the place. It's not a place where building housing is extremely difficult. Um, and so, yeah, I don't see the cost of living increasing so much so that uh, so much so that it becomes like American prices. Now, if you go to Boracay, you go to Palawan, you go to BGC, yeah, you're going to pay a premium to be in those places, but it's still not American prices. But yeah, great question, Joe. I mean, that's a fair question to ask. A lot of people that are in the US right now, cost of living is top of mind for them. And they want to know, are we going to deal with that here? I don't see it. Of course, I'm not an expert, but yeah, I think it's important to be mindful that in the very popular cities that costs will go up probably a little bit faster, but that there's going to be alternatives. There's going to be provincial places. There's going to be a lot of different options that nobody talks about and just aren't as much on people's radar. I mean, with Dumaguete gets a ton of attention for the size of the town. Tons of people know about Dumaguete. There's a number of places that people just don't know about. Now, will they get discovered? Sure. I'm sure more and more places will get discovered and be popularized and go into the kind of the public knowledge. But yeah, um, great advice to not lock into a year lease until you know if it's a place you will like. I did a 6-month lease and just extending it now month by month while I look. Yeah, that's a great option, Doug. I mean, and a lot of landlords here are understanding. It's not going to be, some people are worried, if I'm going to be, taken into custody for wanting to end my lease early. No, a lot of landlords, they get it. They get it that you're a foreigner. They get it that you're here on a tourist visa. They get that, plans may change. You just want to go to them and explain your situation because this idea that, oh, blah, 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 most of the time you're going to be able to negotiate with the landlord to end a lease early and in such a way that's satisfactory. Maybe you help them out by helping them to try to find another tenant. That could be part of the way that you sort it out. But they get it. If you're a foreigner, you're not a Filipino person, like your financial situation may be tenuous. You may have a family emergency come up back home. You may, I don't know, for whatever reason, you may need to leave the Philippines early. And so a lot of land, I can't speak for each individual landlord in every single circumstance, but a lot of them are understanding. But you don't even want to do that if you could avoid it, right? You don't want to have to go to them and ask, hey, things aren't working out. This is, I got to sort this out, blah, blah, blah. I recommend booking a place for a month in a certain city and exploring the different neighborhoods, trying out the different restaurants, getting a sense of the atmosphere, not just during the day, but also at night. I mean, a buddy of mine, he went and checked out an apartment on a Sunday, and it's in proximity to a place that would be noisy during the week. And sure enough, it was very peaceful on Sunday, and then during the week, it's a lot noisier during certain hours. So that's something that you're not going to see if, oh, it's Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, and I'm checking this apartment out, and everybody's out at the mall or everybody's out like at the beach and nobody's here. That's not going to necessarily give you an accurate impression of what it's like to live there. So yeah. Um, Johnny, I'm happy almost a minute when I'm in the Philippines. In the US, I'm much less happy due to the people and the lack of values. Yeah, I agree, Johnny. I mean, people in the US are just really stressed out, and they're very a lot of people are very unhappy. Their lives are not turning out the way that they thought that their lives would turn out. They feel that the system is working against them. They feel that they are just numbers or cogs in a machine. It's used to not be like that. The United States used to not be like that, but it's really gone downhill in a lot of ways. And I'm much happier here in the Philippines too. I mean, even when I'm in a bad mood, I'll run into a Filipino person and they'll look at me a bit concerned because I look stressed out, and they'll smile at me. And I'm like, what am I need to get out of my head. And I go up and start talking to them, and we start talking and communicating, and they're asking me where I'm from. And the people here are so wonderful. I mean, I feel very fortunate to be here. I feel that I'm very welcomed as a guest, and the people here are generally very considerate and kind and hospitable, and they want me to be here. I've traveled to like close to 20 different countries now, and in some countries you go to, you don't get that sense that you're welcome. Where here in the Philippines, I feel super welcome. Feel super super welcome. People are so sweet and just inclusive. Filipinos, in my experience, are often very inclusive, and I like it here a lot. Doug says, if I like Tagaytay, I will look to move there end of November. Yeah, let me know how that goes, Doug. I'm curious about Tagaytay. I've got a buddy in Tanza. Actually, he's not on here right now, but he's a channel member, Michael. Michael's a wonderful guy, and he's in Tanza. And so a lot of people are telling me that the province of Manila is the best of both worlds. You get the chill vibe of the province, but you got the accessibility to Manila. You got the proximity to Manila. Doug says I've ruled out Baguio Malaybalay for sure. Car says I think young men deserve a better future. I wish I knew the Philippines earlier. Maybe guys like you can connect the dots to earn money in the United States while living in the Philippines. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Cars is building up my partnerships. Like I said, with Safety Wing, I've got another partnership that I'm ironing out the details on it. I just need to review the terms of service and the expectations, roles and responsibilities. But yeah, I think I'm moving in the right direction where I suspect by late spring, I will be at a point where my monthly expenses are covered by income from the channel. And in doing so, I'm going to try to help a lot of guys come over here if that's the right fit for them, right? If they feel that it's a good option to try it out. I say this all the time. Just because I moved to the Philippines doesn't mean it's the right fit for every young guy. But for some young guys, they are going to find that it's a good fit. They are going to find, wow, rent is not 8,000, not $3,000 a month, and I can afford to go out on a date, and I have a social life, and I don't just suffer in silence and meaningless unhappiness and stress. So I think there's a lot to love about not only the Philippines but many different countries, and I think you're going to see more and more guys, people in general too. I see also plenty of women leaving the United States or UK because those countries, the US and the UK, they're going downhill, and it's readily apparent. I mean, you like I talk to all kinds of people about this in America, and the majority of people who are being honest, intellectually honest, and not don't have an agenda, they'll agree. They will tell me, yeah, the US is not what it used to be. doesn't have the same social mobility it used to have. It doesn't have the same social climate that it used to have. People are not as friendly like they used to be. Um, it, it's the crime is getting out of hand in the U.S. because they don't address the crime issues in the United States. Broadly speaking, some people will say, "Oh, I live in a safe area; it's fine." No, it's not. Okay, we all know that if you're a person of ill intent, you want to take things from other people that aren't yours. You're going to go to where people have stuff to take. Um, I could go on and on about the stress of living in the U.S., of existing in the U.S., of surviving in the U.S. But I think that there's going to be a lot of guys, and you already see this with the growth in channels like Geo in the Philippines, Paul Old Dog New Trick, Mike's Philippine Retirement. These are just a few examples of guys who are helping a lot of guys come try it out. And some of those guys that try it out will decide, hey, you know what? My life's a lot better here. I'm going to make it work. You also got guys that they invested from a young age, or let's say they were in the military, right? They're collecting a solid pension at 40. There's a lot of guys that are not at the point, not at a traditional retirement age, but they don't need the money that they would need to retire in the US, right? I think to retire in the US, I don't know how much you'd want, but you'd want a lot of money. Where here, if I make say 2,000 a month, that's a comfortable life here. Um, I know because I live on substantially less than 2,000 per month, but that's just throwing that number out there. That's easily going to cover the rent for a guy. That's going to cover the food, and that will cover the expenses that you'd incur while having a relationship. So many nice things about living. Dive on that, more interviews, more storytelling, more informational videos. I've got a video that it's almost done that I'll probably put it out tomorrow. Um, I'll probably film the rest of it today after this stream, and then get that part edited and then put it up tomorrow. Uh, but this video that's upcoming is called "How Do You Spot Somebody Fresh Off the Plane?" Because I think we're going to see. I've already seen it here. It's like every week I see guys who are fresh off the plane, and I can tell right away, or I can tell usually very quickly. And this video is going to, yeah, this video is going to talk a bit about that because I think we're going to see more and more guys that want to give it a chance. I talk to a lot of different guys that say, I never would have thought I'd come over here, but like I see so many vlogs about it, and I get such a strong sense of what it's like to be over there that I want to give it a chance. I mean, what do I have to lose, right? But yeah, in a globalized world with the internet, I think it's super easy to make money in America and then take it abroad to enjoy it elsewhere. And that's the goal. I can't work here in the Philippines. I just can't do that. Don't have a work permit, but I can earn money in America and I can spend it here. Doug says, Joe, I was wondering why anyone would do the digital nomad visa when it's more complicated than a tourist visa. I think the main thing is just eliminating the gray area, Doug. I think with a digital nomad visa, you know you've got work authorization in, say, Thailand, and you know that you're getting their blessing, right? That um, there's not going to be any gray area, or we're unsure about this, or we're unsure about that. These places know people want to come live here, but they know it's not free for them, right? They want these people to be paying rent, to be spending at restaurants and grocery stores, to be hiring transportation services, to benefit the people here, right? I get the sense they really care about the economic impact of digital nomads and expats and retirees, but they want to streamline that process. They also want people to feel like they've got the support, right? Because some people want to come here, but they wonder, am I going to be, uh, am I going to be like, is it going to be acceptable for me to, can I get my social security income over there? Some people don't know that, right? Some people think I can only use my social security in the US. So there's a lot of different gray areas that the digital nomad visas help to iron out, and I think it's really good. Um, so yeah, it is more complex, but it's also more transparent. It's also more easily understood. There's not as much like lack of clarity, if that makes any sense. Nicholas says, "Did you hear about the American that got?" Yeah, so I did hear about that. I talked about that a bit earlier in the stream, Nicholas. It's very unfortunate. I talked about it briefly. I hope I didn't come across as callous to anybody. I don't know tons of details, any more details than any of you know. It's kind of funny because I was chatting a woman in Zamboanga, not too far, not too far from him, let's say. And I asked her, "Hey, is it safe down there?" She said, "Oh yeah, it's no problem." And I'm thinking, yeah, yeah, I don't know about all that. Now he was in the province of Zamboanga. He was in an area called Sibuko. But yeah, I mean, he was, he's in a very dire situation. He's in a very dire situation, and that's where stuff gets real, and where people have to be very mindful of where they're going, what they're putting out there, um, who they have to be concerned about wherever they're at. I mean, that's a part of the Philippines where there is some level of risk, and you have to be mindful of it. Some people have no issues, but in this case, this young man, unfortunately, he's in a very dire and difficult situation. Um, I I will keep my eyes peeled. I hope that he's able to be returned safely to his family back in the states. Um, but yeah, I dropped his name. I'll put it in here again for those who don't know. He actually had, well, he has a YouTube channel, and his last post was I think 24 hour. His last post was that same night. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna have some coffee here. MedTech says, "I'm in Cambodia for January and February. I'm sorry you won't be there." Yeah, I love Cambodia MedTech. I would like to go back. It's definitely one of my favorite countries. The people are super friendly. Phnom Penh is just eclectic and vibrant and electric. It's just an interesting place. Johnny, is Starlink reliable enough to work online in the Philippines? Yeah, I think it is. So I can't speak from personal experience, Johnny, but I've heard from a lot of people that they have great experiences with Starlink. That Starlink is strong enough. Of course, here I think I have fiber here in Bekong, so my internet here is faster than my internet in America, actually. And if occasionally, for whatever reason, like it goes down, I also use my phone as a hotspot. So yeah, internet in the Philippines has improved immensely in the last 5 years. When I was here 5 years ago, that was my hang up, was I struggled with the internet speeds in the places that I went. Very rarely is it an issue these days for me personally. There are some days where it's a little bit slow, but I'm just blown away at how many different improvements that have happened since I last came here 5 years ago. I think it's has so much potential as a digital nomad destination. Now that they've sorted that out, uh, it's just going to have a much wider appeal. It's going to be more and more people are going to want to be here, because that was the concern for a lot of people, is like, okay, if I'm working online, then am I going to have the connectivity I need, right? If I'm going to connect with American clients, if I'm going to be doing, business meetings, am I going to be able to have a strong connection? If I need to upload, I mean, when I tried to upload on YouTube 5 years ago here, not in Dumaguete, but in some other parts of the Philippines, I would get this notice. It'll take 36 hours to upload a 10-minute video in 1080p. I'm like, 36, and then it'd go 18 hours and then freeze. And then I have to delete it and start over again. And so it, yeah, this country is on the up and up in many different ways, and the internet is part of that story. Like, it's such a, yeah, things continue to improve and improve and improve, and it yeah, it's fantastic here. Doug says, I was on the front of the curve of leaving the United States. I knew even though I worked all my life, I wouldn't have a good retirement. I left 8 years ago and lived so much better and happier. Yeah, Doug, I agree. I mean, it's quality of life. I always say it this way: the best places to make money aren't necessarily the best places to live. The US is fantastic for making money, but there's some real challenges there that impact quality of life. Cold weather is one of them. I mean, for some of us, we just don't care for the cold weather. For others, it's the high cost of living. For others, they may feel their romantic options aren't so good in the United States. So many different reasons to live overseas. And yeah, hey, family of five, good to see you. Where if you're a foreigner, I would avoid Zamboanga all the way to Tawi Tawi. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that family of five. It's there's so much to see in the Philippines. There's so many awesome places. There's no reason to take the risk of going down to areas where, for Americans, I speak for the Americans, I can't speak for other people, but the US has put out some travel warnings that we have to be mindful of, right? They let you know, hey, we don't recommend our people go there. So I've got to take that into consideration in my decision making. And so it's those places are off my radar. I've even have a local um, acquaintance of mine who's he's lived here his whole life, and he told me, he's like, hey, don't go down there, like, just letting you know. I didn't even bring it up, and he was like, don't go down there. You just, I know, beautiful, lots of nice pictures, videos, whatever. I'm paraphrasing here, but don't go down there. So yeah, good evening from New Jersey, originally from Cagayan. Wow, what a small world, family of five. So Cagayan is the first place I ever landed in the Philippines. So when I came 5 years ago, I yeah, I landed I landed in Cebu and then flew down to Cagayan de Oro. I didn't even leave Cebu Airport though. So my first taste of the Philippines was on a taxi, well, flying into CDO Airport in Laguindingan, I think is how you pronounce it, and then taking a taxi into Cagayan de Oro City, stopping by a money changer to get some cash, to get some pesos to pay my taxi driver, and then I went to, I think it was, which mall was it? Was it Limkik High? No, I think it was the SM. I think I did go to the SM's SM CDO and had Starbucks with my buddy. And Cagayan de Oro is, it's like a mini Cebu to me. It's got some of those big city conveniences, and it's yeah, it's it's not it's not on as many people's radar as much as, say, like, of course, Boracay, Palawan, Manila, Cebu. But I like CDO. I'd like to go back there. My friend still lives there, actually. So if I decide to go go to Mindanao, to different part of Mindanao, not the challenged area, but then I'll probably be passing through CDO again, which will be interesting to see how it's changed. I've heard it's grown a lot in the last 5 years. A lot of people have moved to CDO, and it should be interesting to check out some of my old stomping grounds. Family of five says, I have Starlink in my house in Siargao and we love it. That's awesome. Okay, very good. How's the internet speed, family of five, for your home in Siargao? Do you feel like you could do video conferencing? How about like streaming? Yeah, just curious about your experience there. Johnny says, do you use Converge, or who else offers fiber there? So we have PLDT. We have PLDT, and I'm super happy with the service. I don't organize that part. My host family does, but yeah, it cruises right along, and I'm very happy with the service. They just include it into my rent, so I pay a certain flat fee for rent, and that includes my rent, my electric, my internet, and water. All those things just included one, makes it a lot easier for them, makes it a lot easier for me. Um, Family of five says, I have Starlink and PLDT landline. I like the PLDT better. Starlink not so good when it rains. Yeah, so in the rainy season, I could imagine then that Starlink becomes becomes a little bit iffier as far as connection stability, and it's something to be mindful of. That um, that if you're going to be here year round, like you're not going to be just here in the dry season, then it might be nice to supplement with the PLDT. Uh, yeah, because I don't have personal experience with Starlink. I'm happy to try it out sometime if I commit to living here long term. Like if I get in a committed relationship, uh, eventually get married or something like that, and I end up in a more provincial area, or an area that's not quite in the city. I'm definitely going to be looking at Starlink. I think it's a game changer for the Philippines. I think it's just another piece of the puzzle that's helping to uh, yeah, helping to make it even more connected, and I think it's going to be a net positive. But yeah, feel free guys to chime in with any uh any questions or thoughts that you have. We've got 13 people watching. Please give us a thumbs up if you haven't already. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. But yeah, it's the temperature's starting to tick up for sure. I'm definitely starting to get a little bit hotter here, and I feel a little bit sweaty, to be honest. I don't have aircon here. I just have fans, but the fans are in my bedroom. They're not out here. But it helps you with adjusting. I mean, for me personally, some people can't deal without the aircon. I think it helps to adjust a bit like just to be able to handle it. I have a friend who lived in Thailand for 15 years, and I asked him like, "How do you operate without aircon?" He said, "I just got used to it." He's a Brit. I'd actually like to interview him. I need to make a note of that. Um, that's a good reminder. So I'll be interviewing him. He's actually going to be doing a race in Manila. He's 64 years old, and he's going to be competing in Manila in less than 3 weeks. So when he gets back from that, I'll be doing an interview with him. It should be interesting. He's done a few interviews, but I'm going to go in some directions that the other people haven't covered. And just a really inspiring guy. He had not run since his Royal Air Force days, and he was trying to find something to do to focus on here in the Philippines because he's a retiree, and he decided on running. He's like, I'm gonna run, and got into super good shape. He's in better shape than I'm in, and I'm literally half his age. So I'm 32, he's 64. He is incredible, and I think his story would be really inspiring. And I think it would show a lot of guys that you can really get in shape at his age, right? Because the presumption is, oh, he's 64. What can he really do? He runs fast. I mean, he is in incredible shape. He's got like a six pack abs at 64. And I'm not saying everybody's got to strive for that. It's pretty intense, his workout schedule and routine. But it certainly it certainly opened my mind and shifted my thinking in a lot of ways. And he's been a good friend to me as well. He's provided a lot of insight and shared a lot of his thoughts and experiences from being in this part of the world for close to 20 years. It's yeah, he's a retired aerospace engineer, so he worked on mostly worked on aircraft. He would do like different contracts. Um, Richard says, "Glad to see you streaming. Finally finished work. Counting down till I will be in Bakong November 6th." Well, Richard, I'm excited for you. You're going to be here in about 2.5 weeks. It's we're getting down to the wire. I think you're going to enjoy it. That reminds me, I need to talk to my host family about extending another month because yeah, I'm just so comfortable here in Dumaguete. It's just such an easy place to live and easy place to enjoy life. So, Richard, I guess you'll fly to Manila, and then you'll probably have a layover or a transfer, and then fly down to Dumaguete, and then take like a trike or a jeepney out to Bacan, or maybe your wife, your fiance, sorry, your fiance will pick you up from the airport. But yeah, I think you're going to be so relaxed, and you're going to have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and yeah, you're there you're getting here too at the start of dry season. I think we're going to get the last of our rain here in the next week or so, or next couple of weeks. It's supposed to rain later today. I can feel the humidity and I can see the clouds. So it yeah, it's lovely here in the Philippines. I feel so much more relaxed. My blood pressure has come down being here, being around the kind and welcoming Filipinos. They just help me chill out. Like I don't know how else to put it. They're just so calm and friendly, and I yeah, I love the people here. I look forward to my jeepney rides because the jeepney drivers at the jeepney stand, they all recognize me now, and they're all just like waving me over and come on, man. And I hop in the passenger seat. So I sit in the front because I'm a big American, and it, yeah, they're just so nice. And I like it. There's times where I just ride to town because I'm not sure what to do that day. And well, I need to film, but I'm not exactly sure how I want to structure the day. And it's just a pleasant way to start the day where you hop in beside a nice, nice driver, and he's just, he doesn't have the least stressful job. Driving anywhere in the world can be stressful, but they just maintain this positive attitude, this positive demeanor, and it's so encouraging, because when I'm in the US, I associate driving with a lot of stress. I'm stressed out. Hey, don't cut me off. Hey, this and that. And even when people cut them off, even when people maybe drive real close to them, or they have to slam on their brakes, you may see them shake their head a little bit or beat their horn a little, but it's not this meltdown. And so I really admire the hardworking Filipinos here that make it such a nice place to be. That uh, they take pride in their job, and they enjoy helping people. There's a lot of people that are very very helping to make it awesome. Let's see. Doug says I'm 68 and came to the Philippines specifically to run a marathon in Baguio. I'd always planned to stay. Doug, I think you mentioned you might be coming through Dumaguete. I really want to introduce you to my friend Colin at some point if you come through Dumaguete, because I think you and Colin would hit it off. If you guys are both into marathons, you're both runners, you might have a lot in common. He's 64, and so he's just 4 years younger than you, and yeah, he's really gotten into it. I think it's really given him something positive to focus on and to work on, and also he's taught me some stuff about running and helped me to learn. I'd like to start running with him more. It's a little bit tricky to find places to go running here in Dumaguete that aren't on pavement. I think that from what I've heard, sometimes pavement can be a little bit hard on the knees or the ankles. They have an oval, but I don't ride a motorbike, so it's a little bit trickier for me to get to the oval. But that's where Colin likes to go train, and he's an interesting guy for sure. Richard says, pretty chill for sure. Fiance and sister-in-law will meet me tail end of rainy season. My birthday is in November, and in December, I'm going to the livestock auction and buy a couple of pigs for a family gathering, about 100 people. My first try at roasting lechon. Yeah, that was one of the most thrilling experiences I've had here in Dumaguete, and I've had a lot. I've had a lot of cool experiences here, but I attended a fiesta. My friend Jen invited me, and so I went over there to join her and her friends. And it was the guys that were roasting the lechon were like, "Yeah, come check it out!" And like they're twisting the lechon steak or whatever, and it's such a there's something like primal about it. There's something like you could call it caveman instinct about roasting the lechon, where you think, oh man, people have been doing this for a millennia, sitting around a fire, cooking an animal, and getting excited about eating the animal. And I like lechon a lot. It's super tasty. It reminds me of growing up in the southern U.S. because pork is very very big in the southern U.S. And so that's something that I enjoy about here is lechon, and it brings people together, and people love it because they're eating something really tasty. And so just seeing the happiness of the people and seeing the joy of the people to have something that I feel like in the US, sometimes we take food for granted. Like, where food is so plentiful for the average American, we struggle with our weight. And it's people are just like the things that people are grateful for in the Philippines. Really is a lot. It creates a lot of teaching moments for me to have gratitude in my own life. And yeah, that's very generous of you, Richard, to get some pigs at the livestock auction. I'm kind of curious to go to the livestock auction myself. I've never been to one here, but I'd like to go see one because I think that would be really interesting. Pinto, hi everyone. Hey Pinto, good to see you. Richard says super stoked. Orion says, do you like balut or durian? Never tried balut. I don't think it's for me. I've been offered balut many times by friends, Filipinos, friends who laugh a lot when they offer it to me. They laugh a lot. And one of my friends, he suggested his wife and I should make a video of me trying balut. So me actually sitting down with her and trying one. I don't think it's for me, just my personal opinion. I just don't know that it's something I would enjoy. I love durian. Durian I can eat all day. I love durian. I got the taste for durian in Thailand. I didn't like it the first couple times, and then I tried it a third time, a little bit underripe and kind of that crispy texture, and I fell in love. So I like durian. Durian smells good to me now. It's it somehow doesn't smell as funky to me now that I've developed a taste for it. So yeah, I could eat durian all day. I didn't get any durian this time. I missed out on it. I should have tried some, and now I think we're out of season here. But it's something I want to try in Davao. So Davao is the durian capital of the Philippines, and I imagine when I go down there, I'll be able to try it. Doug says, I would really it'd be really good to have someone to run with. Here in Quezon, the traffic's so bad, I have a hard time finding a place to run. I loved running in the mountains in Colombia. Yeah, that's a good point, Doug. In Quezon, it's so packed. It's not so easy. My friend Colin, he's got a friend from Manila, and she said there's a certain place that they go. They have a track in Manila, but she did say it's pricey. So she said you pay 200 pesos per hour to run there. So it is, it's a little pricey just for the access. But I know also she said it's a really nice facility. It's very high quality. It's not too crowded. The maintenance is really on point, and yeah, it might be too far, right? I'm not sure where that track is located, so it might be a bit too far. But yeah, I mean, checking out Dumaguete, I would say it's not necessarily easy to find a place here, but yeah. Orion says he can try joining running groups. I'm sure they know the good routes. Yeah, that makes sense as well. Richard says, I used to raise ducks and incubated the eggs till day 18. The Vietnamese bought them all because the age was consistent. Older balut is not so desirable. That makes sense, Richard, because I always see when I see balut vendors here in Dumaguete, they always write the number of days on the styrofoam containers. So they store them in these styrofoam containers, and they'll write 18. It's funny you mentioned 18. So the balut vendors here are exactly the same as what you did, and they'll write 18 days on the front of it. So if you're a consumer of balut, then you can let's see here. You can, the age, right? You know what to expect as far as product goes. I think they charge like 25p 25 pesos for one balut. Some vendors may charge a bit less. That's the price I think I've seen on the boulevard. Um, but yeah, balut is very popular here. I see a lot of people enjoying it. When I met Filipina P, actually, I think one of her friends ordered some balut. So I met P about a month ago, and that was really interesting. I should have done a video on it, but I don't know. I may still do a video on it because it was honestly an interesting experience, and we sat down and hung out for a while. I hung out with her and her crew, and she's just very hardworking, very talented. And I ran into her the next day as well at a coffee shop in Dumaguete. I think she's starting to come out a bit more, and that's always interesting, right? Because she's encouraged a lot of people to come here to the Philippines. She's really shared a lot of oh, Ronell, hey, good to see you, Ronell. It looks like you retracted your message, but I hope you're doing well today, Ronell. MedTech, I love to run upon the riverside in Phnom Penh at the confluence of the Tonle Sap and Mekong. I know where you're talking about, MedTech. I love Phnom Penh. I think Phnom Penh is perhaps the most underrated Asian capital city. It's just so charming. It reminds me of New Orleans. If any of you have been to New Orleans in the United States, it's like Southeast Asia's New Orleans. The mental game involved in eating balut is too much for me, knowing the crunchy texture. Yeah, yeah, I think so too, lost in the pH. It's not so much for me. Um, but yeah, guys, I'm starting to get some background music, so I'm gonna go for a few more minutes, and then I think I'm gonna wind down because I'm really cautious about the background noise. So we'll do like a few more minutes, and then I'm gonna go ahead and uh, cut it off here. Uh, is Cambodia cheaper than the Philippines? I don't know. It's a good question. It kind of depends on your lifestyle and where you live. Davao is a red zone. Most insurance doesn't cover travel there. Good to know, Nicholas. I did not know that. And I'm sure it's delicious, though. Well, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching a replay of this, please subscribe to the channel down below if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up. It helps to boost the channel algorithm, and comment down below. Let me know what you think of this update video. Thanks so much, guys, for watching, but I do want to just cut it because of the background noise. Take care, everybody.